All right, all right, all right. Now, I want each and every one of you to first introduce yourself, tell us what you're doing, and then the questions will begin after that. How many years you've been in the business? Give us how many deals you've done, whatever you want to spotlight. Each one of you wanted, starting from my man Drew. Go.
You gonna make me first?
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, my name is Drew, Drew Sazwa. I'm from the PG area. Boy, I do a lot. I do new construction, infill development with my business partner, Run, who's also here. Do rehabs, and I also do buy and holds. I primarily do buy and holds in Baltimore, but rehabs and new construction in Prince George's County. I've been doing this business now for about 13, 14 years. The mad scientist was my first mentor. I remember he turned me onto rooming houses, and we used to go to Bella Edison, putting properties under contract. My first few contracts, Charles worked with me and showed me how to do it. Primarily, I've been involved in over 100 transactions, buying, selling, flipping, doing all kind of transactions. So,
thank you, Drew. Pass the mic down.
Good morning, everyone. I am Will Rogers. I am primarily an investor, Baltimore-based. Been doing this business since '98. I mainly fix and flip, own lots of rentals in the city, licensed contractor, licensed builder also, real estate agent, do business consulting, have been involved with hundreds of transactions in the city also. That's pretty much my background.
Nicole, you can take the mic too.
Okay. I am Nicole Amundsen. I've been investing about 25 years, primarily in various kinds of commercial multifamily. So apartment buildings, mobile home parks, self-storage. We have a big note business. We have a couple property management companies and some franchises. So I double, kind of in a lot of things, but we have properties in 11 states. And so one of the things I had to get good at is managing managers at a distance. So we also do a lot in property management. I'm turning it over to my good friend.
Janet, you can use the microphone in front of you and pass it down.
Good morning, everyone. And I'd like to...
You can hold it.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Janet Tompkins. I am known as the Baltimore Real Estate Diva. I have over 100 properties between Paterson, New Jersey, Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Atlanta, Georgia. My husband and I are 15% minority owners of everything that you see that's going around downtown Hopkins. So as you've seen those townhomes that were built on Will Street, we are 15% minority owners. They sold in one day. As a matter of fact, we picked up that check on yesterday. We are in Paterson, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay. We will be the first African Americans to build a 74-unit ground-up building for grandparents. It's called Grandparents Raising Their Children. As you know now, grandparents are getting stuck with the grandchildren as a result of mental illness, drug addiction, and so forth. They cannot stay in a senior citizens building for only 2 weeks. So we've gotten $16 million from the state of New Jersey. We have department with a huge development company called Wind Development. That is a $34 million deal. And it comes from building relationships. So we've been in Baltimore since 2001. We've been in this building since 1987. I'm primarily known for buying and holding, but I've done it all. I've done a little wholesaling. I've done a little building and selling. And people come to me because of excellence. I didn't want to do anything in Baltimore County. I didn't want to do anything in my hometown. But because of the quality of the products and what we do, we believe in excellence, we believe in building relationships, we believe in giving back. So you'll hear from me, and I'm just a little old girl from CCP Projects. Building 415C, was not born with a spoon in my mouth, but guess what? You can get as much as you want, and you go, there's no shortage of money out here. And you'll hear that from me a little later. So thank you for having me, Charles.
You
And
got
Charles, you were doing an excellent job.
Vernon.
Hey, shout out to Janet. She could have dropped the mic after that one. You know? Real talk. So, no, hey. My name is Vernon Vaughn. I've been in this business since 2003. Started out in PG County as a first day was a lease option. Then moved up the road to Baltimore, as many people do, because of the lower prices. Since then, I've done wholesale rehabs, extensive rehabs, buy and hold, new build, infill development. So, you know, I don't classify myself as any specific one type of investor. I am with whatever fits my needs, fits my goals, and makes money. That's it.
Keep the mic, you guys use that.
How you doing? My name is Gary Brown. Some of you might have seen me posting deals on some of Charles' Facebook page. I started off as wholesaling real estate, then I gradually graduated into doing fix and flips and buy and hold. I started this business in about 2014. I was about like 21, 22 years old, and I was a sophomore in college. I was looking for some quick cash, and that's when I ran into Valerie Scott, and she started teaching me the ropes of wholesaling and understanding short sales and REOs. And I'm here today to talk to you guys about how to structure some of your deals, and if you have any questions in reference to wholesaling.
Okay, now there's a reason why I brought my man Frank up here. Frank is a new investor, but Frank also has a full-time job, and he's uber successful. And I wanted you guys to know how it feels when somebody who's new is crushing it with a full-time job, so you have an understanding of how that works. Go ahead, Frank.
Yes, just like Charles said, I don't know why I'm here, but I'm here. Yeah, I started around 2019, looked up Charles on YouTube and just took a leap of faith. And then from there, I've done several deals, all type of deals, subject to wholesaling, short sales. So now I'm currently working on a JV. So I've done so many, it's just kind of, overwhelming, but, you're in the right place. I'm happy to be a mastermind student, and every day I'm learning. So.
Thank you. Now, my first question is going to be a general question for all of you guys. What exactly would you do that you didn't know 15 years ago get started in this business today? Starting with Drew.
Well, the first thing that I would do, honestly, that I did, but I did not do it properly, is there are two things. It's multidimensional. Is finding the right mentor, plugging into the right system. It's very crucial. Sometimes I say, I was saying this to a friend of mine the other day. I'm like, I wish God could just take me back to when I was 20. Give me no money, but just give me the sense that I have today and take me back to when I was 20.
Gotcha.
Because I would do a whole lot of things differently in my business. The second other thing that I would do that I did back then was I wouldn't have quit my corporate job as fast as I did.
Right.
I would have stayed in my corporate job for as long as I can and built my system well, because if there's anything a banker likes, it's that W-2 income. So, and if you're in real estate, you're always going to be looking for money. Yeah, so that's something that I would do differently.
Okay. Will.
One thing that I would do differently, I would play nice with others earlier.
You didn't play nice with others, Will?
No, so because I'm introverted and I do everything solo. I was one of the things that a lot of people find in this business, they've tried to do everything themselves. Releasing, not trusting in anyone else. So like now I can sit up here and I've networked with just about everyone up here in some capacity in my later years. But earlier, just say if Drew or Vaughn or anyone was like, if they was doing their thing, I wasn't trying to network with them. It was like, y'all do your thing, I do my thing. So the number one thing that has actually helped take me to you know, the next level was playing nice with others, networking, you know, sharing information, not hoarding the information. If you can understand the concept that it's enough money for everyone, you know, that's the biggest thing. If you understand that concept, you will network with everyone. No question is a dumb question, and you'd be surprised just, you know, networking with someone at a coffee shop, at the gas station, just speaking, and the conversation may start, and you never got a six-figure deal. So, you know, don't keep under wraps what you're doing, network with everyone. That's the best advice I can give that I wish I would have done earlier. I would have been so much further.
Nicole Emerson, thank you.
There's a lot of things I would do differently. One of my first multifamily deals, a 40-unit, I stepped in a couple of landmines because I didn't know what I didn't know, and it cost me about $500,000. So that concept of finding somebody who does know what they're doing to help you along, I think is really crucial. I think this is a team sport. Real estate is a team sport. And you can't, even if you have time to do it all, the truth of the matter is you can't be good at it all. You have to figure out, you know, what your lane is and how you're going to be good at it. The other thing is, frankly, this is just plain hard work. Valerie and I were talking. This is hard work, it's perseverance, and it's belief that you can do it. I think one of the things that I didn't necessarily believe to begin with, but I honestly believe the only thing that's different between me and you is that I know I can do it and you doubt it. You doubt it can be done. And I think maybe I'll just kind of leave it at there, and because Valerie had some really great things to talk about. Janet. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead, Janet.
And I think Will hit it on. He said play nice. But I'm going to say to you, first of all, build relationships. That is absolutely key to our success. Then you have to let people know what it is that you want to do. As Will said, you can't keep it close to yourself. Nobody knows what you want to do unless you tell them what it is that you want to do. Building relationships for us, and my better half is standing in the back. He is a master at building relationships. Building relationships have amounted to us getting $2 million this year alone. Building relationships have allowed us to get a building or get a plot of land with paying no money, with no money down. Building relationships have allowed us to get other units, other properties this year in a COVID when no one else is getting them, because people know that I can pay cash for a deal 2 or 3 times. And then educating yourself. Find a mentor, a local mentor, someone that knows what they're doing. I had, as a matter of fact, one of my pastors called me and said, Miss Janet, I've been trying to get to you for 2 years. I said, no, you weren't, Pastor. I said, because you called me and I did what?
You called the pastor a liar?
I said, because when you called me, I picked up the phone, correct?
Right,
he said, yes. He said, well, yeah. And I just paid Dan Merrill $40,000 for a wholesale. And I said, Pastor, I could have given you a number of people that you could have paid far less than $40,000 for a wholesaling class. And also, one of the keys to our success is you gotta give, you gotta be willing to share. There's no shortage of money out here. Jeff Bezos and everybody else has showed you there. And then as Nicole said, you have to believe that you is. I mean, yes, there are some no money down deals, but no, we don't go into any deal with that. We've always had skin in the game. Then all the other opportunities will avail themselves. If you're not sure of yourself, how is it somebody else is going to be sure of you? So always be willing to share. I mean, I can't tell you, it takes money to make money. I can't tell you how much we spent alone. American Express bill $30,000 to $40,000 a month, because we take our business partners, our bankers, we take everybody out to lunch, dinner, and refuse to allow them to pay for it. So be willing to put skin in the game, be willing to put yourself out there, and trust me, it will absolutely come back to you.
Thank you. Vernon.
So one of the first things I would say is realize that this business or anything worthwhile doing is a marathon, not a sprint. So when my man Drury was like, don't be so quick to quit that job, you gotta kind of think with the end or the long-term goals in your mind, not just about what you want to do today. So once again, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Second thing I would say, which is super important, is surround yourself with both formal mentors and peer mentors. And listen, it might involve changing your circle, but surround yourself with like-minded people. Don't seek out to be the smartest person in the room. Seek out to be invited into rooms where you're not the smartest, but they embrace you anyway. You know, often when you feel with pride, you get enjoyment out of being the smartest person in a room. You got to go seeking out those rooms where you feel uncomfortable, where you feel outmatched and outwitted. That's where you get growth, outside of your comfort zone.
Thank you. Gary. Gary's got a mic.
Well, 15 years ago, I was 13, so I'd have had to
Hold on, Gary. You know we got a person already in the group that's 9 years old, and she has about, how many properties, Sammy? 13 properties. Uh-huh. All right, so go ahead, my brother.
Yeah, well, I was going to take my mom and my stepdad and go buy some of those dollar houses in Reservoir Hill that Baltimore City had with my allowance. So if I could do that over again, I would.
Okay.
The biggest thing I would do, I would have probably got started in real estate earlier. Because the thing is, we all watch these videos and we drag our feet, we come to these seminars and we just say, you know, I'm a daughter. You know, we treat it as if it's like I always refer back to school. For some of y'all, I mean, you don't even have to go to college. I'm talking about high school, trade school. We might have assignment due in 2 weeks and we keep saying, I'm a daughter. Oh, I'm gonna do this later, and then we wait to the very last minute to do it. You know, sometimes we gotta take that leap of faith, as some of us have said up here on the panel, and, you know, just get started doing something. You know, reach out, make phone calls, come to meetup events and actually talk to some of the mentors. I can't tell you how many times I've seen Charles at a meetup and spoke to him. I've seen Miss Janet a couple years ago out Towson at a meetup. I've seen Vernon on Instagram and Facebook. I've reached out to him a couple of times, and Drury called me about a deal I had about a couple months ago on Cardenas, and I've always seen Will. So I mean, just reaching out to those guys and talking to them, getting that insight, asking do they have mentorship programs, because I mean, this business, like I said, this is actually a marathon, and I started when I was like 21, and I'm 28 now. And you know, it's definitely very, very rewarding, but you gotta be willing to put in that work. And I've had friends in college and friends now, like, you know, man, how can I get started? I'm like, man, are you willing to put in that work? And when I say that word, they automatically back off. And I constantly encourage them and say, oh, come on, man, what are you doing? You can go to the club, you can do this, you can do that. It's the truth. I mean, my peers, I'm like, man, look, you can put in that work to go to the club, and you can see Shorty right there in the corner, and you thinking up your pickup line to go over there and talk to her, but you can't put in that work to get out here and start making some life-changing money and start ending generational curses. Like, I mean, come on now. I mean, the thing is, like, go ahead and take that leap of faith. If you gotta get a mentor, get that mentor and just run with it. Take that information, ask questions, run with it. I wouldn't be right here in the position I am today if I didn't ask Miss Valerie 100,000 questions since I've known her, literally. And I can tell you, like, she'll tell you, at first, when I first met her, I was calling her every single day. Now, Mr. Charles knows it's true. But now we barely speak. We probably speak maybe once a week to talk about certain short sales that I'm working on and stuff like that. But we barely speak now. And you know, and that's because she has confidence, and I grew my own confidence to get out here and start doing it myself. So my thing is, don't put it off till later. Start now. For some of you that's in this room, that's looking to get that information, come up to one of us, talk to us, get out our Facebook page, our business cards, and get started now and stop waiting, because I mean, time is in the essence right now.
Thank you. Frank.
one thing I wish I did was get a mentor early on. When I was told about real estate before, I didn't believe it. I just thought you bought the house and then you tried to make money. Hopefully it worked out. So if I had gotten that mentor, if I had picked that phone up or I had found someone like Charles Blair, I'd be in a better, way better situation than I am now. Even to the point I'm still learning now, is the deal I'm working on now. I had told Charles about it. He discussed and told me what to do, and then got off the phone. I was okay. And then I was still doubting a little bit. Charles called me the next morning and said, I couldn't sleep. And I said, what, Charles? I thought it was something with the family. He said, no, I was thinking about your deal. I said, you thinking about my deal? I went to sleep, I was sleeping good. And you worried about my deal? So that just tells me, and he's not, this is what a mentor does. He doesn't have to. He could be enjoying life. He has a beautiful wife, everything. He's talking about he worried about my deal. So that right there just tells me how passionate and how he cares and why you should have a mentor. So, yeah, it's just still mind-boggling. I'm still sitting here thinking about that, but I wish I had reached out to a mentor earlier. And then I'll be living the good life right about now, but I'm just saying.
Okay. I got a question for Will. I've known you for a number of years, Will, and one thing that fascinated me about you is the fact that you're averaging 6, 7, 8 deals a month or more with a $0 marketing budget. Tell people how you do it.
So the number one thing where I'm able to get deals is I leverage my networking and social media. So pretty much what I do is document the process of what my day-to-day life looks like, whether it's walking through houses, closing deals. All of my Facebook posts are real estate related, and there's a call to action for every post. Hey, I'm looking for 5 more deals in this area, or if you know a friend that has a deal, I'll pay you $1,000 for the referral. So I have spent, outside of business cards, $0 in marketing for my deals. Currently rehabbing 15 houses for retail sale.
How many?
15. Doing 5 apartments for rentals right now, with 1 new build for new construction, and we have another 6 or 7 deals under contract now that we paid no money for marketing for.
Excellent. Now, there's a lot of boutique strategies that's in this panel, and one of them is InFill land development. Vernon or Drew, either one, talk a little bit about how that strategy coordinates today and how you guys are able to get opportunities where people are saying, there's no deals out there.
Well, I mean, listen, where there's not an opportunity, you create one, right? You literally create a deal out of thin air. You take a patch of dirt that nobody gives any value to. Now, wholesalers, a lot of times not even the owner. Because here's the way I look at it. I look at it like this. So in this DMV region, there are meetups, there are workshops, boot camps going on, and come Monday, you're gonna have competition hitting the ground, right? And they're all gonna be looking for absentee owner, high equity, maybe divorce, maybe probate, going after the same houses. All gonna be doing RVM, all gonna be doing text message, door knocking, cold calling, whatever, right? And they're all going after houses. And if you ever, if you're marketing, I recommend anytime you have an appointment or you're about to put a property under contract, or right after you get under contract, ask the seller, hey, I'm sure I'm not the first person or the last person that called you. So number one, ask them why they called you back, but then also ask them to show you the yellow letter drawer or the postcard drawer. And I guarantee you, they'll have a stack of them. So you realize that, you can still get deals, but it's you're never the first one and you're never the last one. Well, when it comes to infill development, when it comes to land, it's a pond that way less people fish from. And I'm not saying we don't have any competition, but I'm saying that there are more land deals out there than we can take down. You've heard the saying before, it's riches and niches. And if you get I don't care if you're marketing, I don't care what you're doing, if you get super specific about what you're looking for, you're more likely to find it, right? Because no matter what we do in this business, we depend on our ability to find a needle in a haystack. I don't care what you do. We're trying to find sellers who are willing to sell at a price less than retail, right? So we're trying to get people we're trying to find a needle in a haystack. It gets a whole lot easier when you make that haystack a whole lot smaller.
I know Janet, you talked about the different markets that you're in. And for a lot of investors, that's like an alien type of strategy. How in the world are you able to put boots on the ground or a system on the ground and go from 1 market, 2 market, 3 market, 4 markets, and make it work successfully?
One of the things that you will hear me say, first of all, as what's your name, sweetie? As Vernon has just said, you must become good at that one thing first. You must understand what you're good at. For example, I tried, when I first came to Baltimore in 2001, selling a property. I realized that that was not my forte, that was not my strength. I had come from where in New Jersey I had 8 multifamily units because that's where I started at. I learned very early on that I was a better landlord than I was a better flipper. So I started with that one thing first, and I did the heck out of it at becoming a very successful landlord, doing some things that others were not doing it. 10, 15 years ago, I was putting granite countertops in, but guess what? 10, 15 years ago, I have many of those same tenants that have not left my properties. So I became good at buying and holding. Then all of the other opportunities then availed themselves. So somebody asked, okay, so you're good at this, why don't you now flip a property? I flipped about 3 properties this year alone, okay? Then in addition to, I also mentor some wholesalers. And I'm saying a couple of my wholesalers were making over $1 million. So I said to them, look, you need to stop wholesaling to me and you need to start buying and holding on, because the way, for me, this is generational wealth. The way that you make generational wealth is why? By holding where? By holding on to assets, okay? Yeah, you can wholesale, but then you have to pay capital gains and all those other things on that. But the way to leave a legacy for your family and to leave children is by buying and holding. So I learned a little bit about wholesaling. As a matter of fact, I have a couple of deals now that I'm working on because I don't want to flip them myself. Then my husband and I together, what we do is we set goals, attainable goals. And the way that we're able to get in those huge deals, remember I said build relationships, is by helping other people get what they want. My husband used to work for O'Malley in economic development. So when the deals came around Hopkins, one thing about Baltimore City, whenever you do a large development deal, you have to have minority participation. So he actually, 2 years before they knew that that was going to happen around the Hopkins area, he put together about 7 African-American people and said, look, where they met every year for 2 years prior to the deal actually occurring, okay? And so once he left the city after 2 years, they pulled him back in it. That would not have happened in New Jersey or New York, okay? You just don't see those type of opportunities. I'm gonna say another thing for the MDV area is one of the best areas where African Americans can become wealthy. One of my girlfriends is #1 in Mary Kay, Gloria Mayfield Banks, okay? So you can see, touch, and feel millionaires. So you can see the possibilities that can happen in here. And that's more so than New York and New Jersey, even Atlanta. Atlanta is just that one particular area in Georgia. But here you have Maryland, you have Delaware, you have Pennsylvania, and you have Virginia where opportunities are availed themselves. So When you help people get what they want, I'm gonna tell you, it comes back at you triple fold. Okay, so that's how we were able to get. So my husband, we're from Paterson, New Jersey. He ran economic development in Paterson, New Jersey. 25 years later, when the new Governor Murphy came into, he had some plans. They came down, they saw what we were able to do in Baltimore, and they said, you need to come back home and you need to do something here in Paterson, New Jersey. But it's, once again, it's relationships. Also, I'm gonna say to you, get into the game. We were one of the first African Americans that we came here. We held fundraisers for Sheila, for both Democrats and Republicans. In order for you to affect the game, you have to be in the game. In order for you to make change. So we've gotten into the game, we play it politically, and we play it well. And that way we can help not only you, but we've been able to change the trajectory of our family lives. My baby brother has become a millionaire as a result of being around. I'm able to bring my sister from New Jersey. She does all of my turnovers. She's left her job, and then Vernon and Will were right. I retired from Verizon. 35 years for Verizon in corporate. I was able to retire at 50 years old, okay? And then do this, we do this full-time, all day, every day, okay? And so this is how we were able to do those things.
We see him. Okay. We see him. Thank you. So, I have a question for Frank. Many times we have these meetups and people talk about their time, balance time, because of the fact that they have full-time jobs and how to balance their time with working and being an investor. So you're still having a full-time job. How are you balancing that and still able to do the deals and manage the deals that you're doing right now?
So yeah, I do work a 40-hour job. So what I do is I make a schedule, a calendar. Once again, learn from the mastermind to set out a time, whether it's like 5 to 8 every day, Monday through Friday, to make sure I put in what the work I'm supposed to, as far as making the cold calls, sending out text message blasts, whatever is needed. But I stick to that schedule. As long as I'm able to do that, I'm able to make that work into the system.
And are you also leveraging any other services, or is it just you?
Yeah, I was able. At first, it was just me. I did everything myself because financially I couldn't do it at the time. But then I was able to transition and get a VA to help me out too.
Okay. So how many in here, by a show of hands, how many have a full-time job still and working on investing? So this is a guy you want to talk to in order to how to manage your time and balance everything to be successful in this business. I have a question for Nicole. Nicole, you have over 5,500 units all across the country. Yep. From syndication to commercial to multifamily to storage facilities. How to get to be that when most people are told, do one thing, be a rehabber, be a wholesaler. How did you transition that knowledge to storage facilities, multifamily, commercial, mobile home parks, syndications, so on?
Well, I think I'm like a lot of people. I started in single family. I started in rehabbing and basically bought two with a HELOC from my house, which you're never supposed to do. And I kept one as a rental and sold one so I could pay for two more. So I worked a full-time job. I worked for the government for a lot of years. I couldn't manage the properties myself. So from day one, I had to learn how to manage, to have managers. One of the things I'm good at that Janet talks about is I'm good at business. I'm good at building and managing businesses. And there's a fundamental, all businesses have a lot in common, right? And if you're going to do real estate full-time, you want to do that. Basically, You are needing to build a business, and you need to treat it like a business. If you very quickly in this area, you have $1 million, $2 million portfolio, and if that's not a business, then I don't know what is. I think one of the things I see in a lot of fairly new real estate investors, and I don't know what the rest of you lady think, is that you start out with the tasks of buying something, rehabbing something, and it's only after you've done a few that you figure out you have to add the systems in place to begin to be able to make it work on a bigger level. The other thing I say is basically that that buying any kind of income-producing property, whether it be a house, an apartment, a self-storage unit, a warehouse, any of those things, the basics of how you analyze and run income-producing properties are the same. There's just variations on the theme for all of those.
Okay, thank you. Now, this is your time, guys, in the audience to ask questions. Anybody have any questions, raise your hand. Corey up front, I got you. Keep your hands up on this side if you have questions as well. No, Corey's got that side. Corey got that side.
Well, you taking a minute to get there.
Maneuver through this maze here. We'll start.
Good morning, everyone. Ms. Janet, this question is for you. You've been able to scale with your real estate portfolio, and you've heard about the Burr method. I'm sure you're familiar with that. How have you been able to leverage, and how did you scale, and how quickly were you able to do that? Did you take on loans and things like that?
Okay, so it wasn't quick by any means. I set a goal that we wanted to do 100 properties. Now remember, I told you I've been in this business since 1987. We left Patterson, New Jersey in 2001 to come here into Baltimore. We actually got rid of those multifamily units, which if I had to do it all over again, I would not have done that. I would have kept them. But we came and we started in Baltimore City. We started with multifamilies. My first 3-unit building I bought in Reservoir Hill for $90,000 in 2001. I should have bought the entire block, okay? But that's from not doing the due diligence. What I will have to say to you here, right now, you're in the midst of, you have everything. You have a Charles Blair, you have a Janet Tompkins, you have a Nicole, you have a Will. We didn't have any of that. Even today in New Jersey, they are just getting, there is no RIA in North Jersey area. I'd have to go as far down to New Brunswick or South Brunswick. They don't have that type of infrastructure. So everything that we did was by trial and error. And just, we've always been extremely adventuresome, and so we just read books and just started that. So, and we also saved our money. Now, as I say to anybody, start first. If you don't have the money, start partnering with folks that do have the money. Maybe you have something to offer. One of the reasons that we were able to get into the Johns Hopkins deal is because we had the land. The land had been given to us. So that was our equity. And so we had the builder to come in, and we became 50-50 partners with Orion Homes. Okay, but once again, it's because of relationships. We set goals. I'm also the women's moderator of the Baltimore RIA. So on the first Wednesdays of the month, I'm on their executive board as well. We hold women's meeting. We've done that by Zoom, and we continue to do that by Zoom as well. So I let people know, I sat there for 2 or 3 years and did nothing. Once I let people know what it is that I actually wanted to do, then the deals became available. And I'm a very avid reader. Money Magazine, Fortune Magazine. I've always wanted to know, why is it that other folks can do what it is that we can't do? And so what I did is I looked at to see, how did people make money? Or how do you leave generational wealth? And most of it is from real estate. If you look at the majority of the people, whether or not it be Burger King, McDonald's, or anybody else, the money is in the land and the assets that you own. So it's about owning things, and we and I don't mean just to begrudge anybody else, but we as African Americans, we are behind, and we need to come together. And Charles does an excellent job of bringing folks. And Charles, I want to become more involved with you, and that's one of the things that I haven't done as well as Will has just said.
Love to have you.
So I would like to become more involved with you today. And the young people, we learn from the young. We have a little young crew, some of my mentees. I want to show you how relationships go. I've just sold 2 of my deals because I had partners, okay, that weren't worth 2 cents. And just to get out of the deal, I sold the property. My 2 mentees got $60,000 in equity in those deals. They got a couple multi-units with equity. They're living in them, so that was the advantage to them. And say, once you become a mentee, you become my family. So they can come in and knock on my door at 11 o'clock, and we just say, look, y'all can stay in here. We go in the bed, but y'all just lock up when you get there. So you become family. So, and we learn from you guys, too. We learn from the younger folks. Because things that I need to be doing, I'm not doing. I'm not a social media person, okay? But we get to learn from young people. So we sometimes we just host. I just say, come on by and eat, and let's hear from one another. And so they help keep us young, too, because my husband and I are actually getting up there in age.
Okay.
Wait, we got a question here.
Go ahead. And I got one next back here.
Good morning. My name is Ann, and I'm going to address this initially to Nicole, and anyone else can jump in. I've heard a little bit from Janet, part of the answer to this question. But my question is, you said that don't use a HELOC to buy your first properties. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, I want to buy a 4-unit apartment building, da-da-da-da. Maybe I can get a HELOC and to get started and get the first property, and then use other things to get the other properties. What should we be doing?
Well, I started quite a long time ago, and that was kind of one of the things. You shouldn't use your own money. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that if you've got equity in your home to use it. Where I think people get in trouble is if they use it to buy doodads, rich dad, poor dad doodads. Anybody kind of remember that? All the kind of that are not appreciating assets. So in my mind, one of the things that would be okay with a HELOC is if you buy something that's going to appreciate in value, but you make sure then that you work your tail off that it becomes successful, because otherwise you can find yourself in a place you don't want to be.
Good morning. My name is Chris. This is for Nicole. You said you started with single family, and what was it that you needed to do to transition from even, your duplexes or quadplexes jumping to like 25, 30, 50 unit properties, and kind of how did you overcome that?
I think where I started was, I kept one and I sold one. And I started in my first few houses were in PG and Frederick counties, and then Montgomery, so not necessarily. So if they went vacant, it was a 1 or a 0, right? It was either they made money, or if it was vacant for a month, I could lose profit for the entire year because I had to still pay the mortgage, right? And so it took me 3 to 4 years to sort of figure out that wasn't necessarily, for me at least, a great business plan. And so I went and I'm originally from the Pacific Northwest, and one of my early friends, who's still a friend, she used to live in a duplex. There were 4 duplexes on this property. And we were just talking, and she said, one of those duplexes has got a blue tarp roof on it. And I went, oh, isn't that interesting? And so I bought that using the same criteria. I'd use to buy single family. And that worked okay. And then the next deal was a 40 unit, and that was the one where I stepped in a couple of landmines. But I think the transition for me was recognizing that one property was, you know, it was either a 1 or a 0. And even when I had, you know, more than one single family at a time, I still had that mindset, you know, one roof, one property. And it was, I also had a busy full-time job, and I needed to have more units. Takes a lot of work to buy, you know, property. And if I could put in the same amount of work and get 8 or 10 units as opposed to 1 or 2, it was just a better deal for me. It was basically not that much more work, and I could turn it over to a property manager at a better rate. So instead of paying 10 or 12%, I'd pay 8% of collected rents. And so there was just a lot of reasons for me to do it. And then I went and found my first mentor after I stepped in that first landmine, because I figured I didn't know as much as I thought I did. What do you think?
This question is for Gary. Gary, I know you're crushing it wholesaling-wise. Give us your top 2 or 3 ways that you are doing today to get wholesale deals.
Pretty much the top 2 ways that I like to do is cold calling and text messaging blast. I have a system set up where once I started gaining enough traction, I started saving some of my wholesale checks, and I started asking around, and this goes back to piggyback off what we were saying. You gotta ask, you gotta ask people, you know, what systems they're using, who has a good VA service. And I was able to find a good VA service, and I paid them a couple dollars, and they found me a good VA. And I started training the VA on what I wanted them to do, and I started giving them scripts on different types of, like for sale by owner, probate, upside down, and I started going over with a VA the different type of rebuttals that she might get, which was off my experience. So for pretty much for what I do is I just do I still cold call lists that might, if I see like Alex Cooper sign on a property, and I'll research and see that property's going to auction in probably about like a month. I'll hurry up and contact that homeowner and say, hey, I know that property's going to auction pretty soon. Are you interested in selling? Because Vernon was telling you guys that you're kind of in a rat race when you're dealing with high equity, free and clear, vacants, and that's what a lot of people target. So for me, since I have the knowledge to negotiate these deals with banks, that's pretty much what I do. So I'll call them and say, hey, you know, Mary had a little lamb. You have a property going up for auction, and you know, these are the negatives behind it. Pretty much, the bank's still gonna come for you for whatever's still owed on that property. They're gonna try to sue you. They're gonna try to put a garnishment on your bank account, the whole 9. And then I'll say, hey, if you work with me, I promise you that you're gonna get this property sold. I'm gonna buy this property, and it's gonna be the best decision you ever made. And of course, I've had homeowners that would say, you know, I tried to sell it to an agent, and other investors came and said they couldn't do nothing with it. And I'd be like, well, listen, I got testimony. I can send you testimony, I can send you referrals, I'm good at what I do. Just trust, give me your faith, and believe in me, and I guarantee you that this deal is gonna get done.
So I have a question for Will. So Gary, I'm glad you brought up systems, right? And Will and I will have these conversations a lot. I'm pretty sure you know where I'm going with this question. So many times people come in and they think they need all of these different systems and pay for all of these different systems, right? But you and I have had conversations about what you're doing and managing all of your projects. So are you, well, first, are you still doing that? Have you upgraded yet? But if you're not, what were you doing prior to?
So are you talking about me managing all of the multiple crews, or like?
Well, the projects, just everything, because you weren't using like software and things. Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of people will, there's many of gurus or gurus, whatever. Everybody's selling something out here, right? And supposed to make everything easier. But me personally, I have notebooks and I use Google Sheets for everything. I will put all of my products in there. There's no need for any type of high-end software. You don't have to spend hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars, because everybody's seen a commercial somewhere and say, yeah, this thing, buy this software right here, you're gonna get X amount of deals, or buy this right here, it's gonna make all of your stuff work. Me personally, I use Google Sheets because it's integrated in everything that I do. I can share it to anyone that needs to be done. And me personally, I manage all of my projects that I have going on at one time, and all of the contractors. Everything gets done with inside the Google system, so it's free to everyone in here. There's no need to spend no additional money. Just write it down. You can write it down in a notebook or whatever. Get your thoughts out of your head, your processes down, and then just systemize it inside Google. It's already there for us.
Now, I'm noticing something right here. This side of the room has questions. This side of the room is just sitting on their asses. So when is something going to happen on this side of the room?
I think they're asleep.
Look, let me make a statement. There's no stupid question in the room, because actually, look, I got some questions for some of the panelists up here, and I've been in this business 22 years.
So on this side of the room, give me some hands up.
There's no stupid question, I promise you.
Hi, my name's Ryan, and I have a question. So this is literally my first time dipping my toe into any of this, ever. So,
clap it up.
Thank you. I have a really, I guess, dangerous question, but where do I start? And I know that's a question.
No, you've already started, and you may not even realize it. The first thing, you took action. You showed up here today. That's where you start.
Go ahead, Will. I want you to answer that. Drew, I want you to touch on that. Also, Gary and Frank.
The first thing you did, you've already started by taking action. Then you have to figure out what's for you. Up here on this panel, we all do a variety of things. And some of us do a lot of things. Some of us just have, certain niches. There's so many ways to get money in real estate. I mean, you could be a landlord, you could be a rehab, you could be a wholesaler, there's property management. There's just so many different fields to be in. So you have to learn the lingo and figure out which one works best with your personality and your finances, whatever you have in place. If you just starting out, I'm sure 90% of the people in here will tell you, learn the lingo and learn wholesaling. That's one thing that I wish I would have, wholesaling wasn't really even a thing when I started the business in the 90s. I don't even think the term existed back then. But wholesaling will be the very first thing, because once you know how to wholesale, you know how to analyze deals. If you can analyze deals, you can sell them, you can become a rehabber, you can become a developer, you can do anything. So wholesaling would be, I guess, the foundation for modern day real estate. So figure that out from there.
Well, like Will said, you've taken action, you're here. The next thing I would recommend is you find a mentor and you plug into a system, a local mentor who's interested in your success, not one of those national gurus. Because in real estate, there's a lot of courses out there. And I've had somebody tell me that, hey, listen, you can make more money selling courses than you can actually doing it. So find a mentor who's invested in you, who wants to see you succeed. The next other thing is pick a niche. Pick a niche, focus on that niche, get good at your niche before you branch out to another thing. One of the things in real estate is that you can see somebody making $100,000 wholesaling, you see another guy making $100,000 rehabbing, and you want to go after that fancy object syndrome, like, hey, that guy just made $100,000 here, I'm going to do that. Oh, that guy just made $1 million here rehabbing, I'm going to do that. You're going to lose money faster than anybody else. So you want to pick a niche, stick to it, get good at it. And, then once you get good at it, you can then go into other spread out. Next other thing that I'm going to advise you is learn how to run a business. Learn how to run a business properly. That's keeping your books, keeping your records and stuff like that. because in this business you're gonna need money. It's a capital intensive business. Whether as you wholesale, eventually you're gonna want to grow. You aspire to do other things, and you're gonna need money. And you're gonna deal with the bank, with some form of lenders, whether you're dealing with a private lender or a banker. The higher you go in this business, people want to see your books. They want to understand your cash flow. They want to see your P&L statement. And it took me years to learn this. I was doing this business, but I didn't understand it. And the one thing that my uncle once said to me is like, listen, the paperwork is as important as the business. I didn't understand that, which is keeping a proper paperwork documentation, because as you grow, if you're talking to your banker, you're talking to a private lender, you can say, hey, here's my P&L. Here's what I made last year. And when people see that, they can invest in you, okay? So learn how to run a business. Keep proper documentation. That's also important.
Yeah,
Good.
and also, look, remember also that no man's an island. Half the time when you want to do this, you have to make sure that you have people that's just as passionate about you that's going to want to do this, I'm not going to call any names, but I heard my husband talking to someone last night, and they seem to think that because they have a full-time job, and like when we tell them about people that's doing it, and they're like, well, they don't do anything else, right? That's all they do, right? And I'm like, nobody just know anything. You always got other things you have to do. If you're living, you're doing some things. So I also, I was asking my husband, who is his friends? Who he hang around? Because obviously he must don't know any positive people. Because he just was like, so I said, he is all disenchanted. He's like done before he started. So I told my husband, call him back in a couple of days and, have that talk with him. And then people need to go to, like, of course, you're at the best meetup, the second largest in the nation, with Charles, Blair, and Tammy. Of course, this is the very best one, so you are at the right one. And then, and not just us, look at all the people that's in here, at different levels in their game. And then you want to go to different meetups as well. You want to network with different people. You're just not going to collect all this stuff and go home and sit down. The book is not going to do it for you. You have to work the business. That's what I'm trying to explain to people. And just form your power team. Find people that's passionate like you. Don't just go grab your brother because that's your brother, that's your blood. And no, your brother might not be the person for you to do this with. You might know somebody you go to church with, somebody you're at your full-time job with. Find the person that is best, that can motivate you. And maybe they have some money or they have some other resources, and that's how you're going to make it in this business.
Absolutely.
I have some questions back here. But real quick, to the points. I was talking to the mastermind last week, and one of the things you're going to hear a lot is the riches are in the niches, right? And like I told them, real estate is like a big ocean. And if you open your mouth and try to drink the whole ocean at one time, what happens? Right. But if you drink a little bit at a time, then that's how you quench your thirst, right? So once you understand that, jumping from, just because you will see someone made 10,000, 20,000, 60,000, whatever, and I'm gonna try that, and all you're doing is jumping from place to place, and you're really not planting your feet anywhere to let those roots grow, then once you understand that, then that's when the real money and the real business is gonna come to you. But we have a question right here.
Thank you. So I have a couple questions. My first question is for Frank. So I have a full-time job. I work for the government. I also have an electrical company, and I'm trying to get into real estate. So when searching for VAs, what are you looking for in your VAs? What type of skill sets are you looking for in them? And do they need to know a particular market or area in order to help you in your business?
As far as the VA, I think you should treat them just like someone you know. You want your VA to be able to speak proper English. You don't want to, I hate to say it, you don't want to have a super thick accent where you can't understand them. Because normally the person you're calling, or the people I like to call, are people that have problems or in distress. They have something going on. So the last thing you want to hear is somebody that you can't understand. So what I do, I normally vet them, like, hey, call me up, I'm the homeowner. So that's number one. You got to make sure that they can speak proper English where they understood. They're being understood. And then second of all, you can just go over the script. Just give them a regular script and just go over it. Just talk to them like a regular person. You want a regular person talking on the phone, and they need to be able to understand you and kind of, not sound like a robot. So if you're able to do that, you'll be surprised how many deals you can get just from your VA.
What's also more important to that than what Frank is saying is, you can't hire a VA to do something unless you know how it's supposed to be done properly yourself. That is the key. I know you was going to touch that.
I'm going to jump into that. I have something to say about that as well.
Yeah, because you have to give that VA guidance and understanding. And one of the ways in which you can get burnt working with a VA is taking what they say as them doing it right. So if you've never done it, you have to create some type of process in place or get with somebody else in your business or in your surroundings that know how it's supposed to be done right. The second thing you want to do is you want to have some type of SOP. We call it a standard operating procedure. Every VA we work with, in fact, you guys got one of the books that we have. Every VA we work with, we give them a copy of our standard operating procedures. And this is how this job's supposed to be done. Step by step, this is how it's supposed to be done. When we're hiring a VA, another thing that we like to do is we like to give them a test. In order to work with us, you have to take this test. That test could be calling this person. That test could be designing this website. That test could be making this graphic. That test could be doing this video. And all of the VAs have to take the test. And then we choose the one who performed the test the best. So those are just a few of the things that you want to do and when it comes to hiring a VA, because we have a boatload of VAs we've been working with for years. Dewey, go ahead.
I think you just touched on some of my points, but in basically getting a VA, or anybody into your organization, personally for me, you want to have, I believe in personality test. Some people call it DISC, some people call it PI test, and knowing that, you can't, like, I'm not a detail-oriented person. You can't put me in a detail-oriented job. That would be a mismatch. I wouldn't do well in that job. So, I think it's really key to make sure that you have the right person for that role. So that's where that PI test or that DISC test come into play to make sure that it's a fit, And when you do the VAs, another thing I like to tell people is that sometimes I see people, they have all these expectations about the VA, like, oh, the VA is supposed to come in and perform super magic. I was having this discussion with somebody the other day. I was coming back into the country. And she's like, well, Drew, I had a VA. The VA doesn't know what to do. And I'm like, hey, I come from an IT background. And even with all my certifications in IT, when I get a new job, some companies don't allow me go into their production system. Now, check this out. You hired me. You're paying me $100,000 or $150,000, whatever you're paying me. But you don't allow me go into your production systems for like months, because they want to make sure that I understand what I'm touching. They don't doubt my ability, but they're training me in their own system.
Exactly.
So how often are you training your VA? Because you get this person for $4 or $10, whatever you're paying this VA, but you haven't invested in training this person, you just expect them to figure it out. It's not gonna happen. So you have to constantly train your VA in what you want them to do.
Yeah. Can I also jump in on this real quick on something? I mean, this goes back to what you were talking about building a business. You have to work in the business at the same time you're working on the business. And one of the things that works pretty well for us is that you say, okay, in the next 3 weeks, this actually comes out of IT, in the next 3 weeks, we're going to do these 2 things. And everybody on your team works on building that. So if you have a task that you want to hand off to a VA, over the next 2 or 3 weeks, you build it up and you test it, and then you hand it off. What I see a lot is that people have this big world, and they try and do it all, and you can't do it all at once. So you pick 1 or 2 things to accomplish every couple of weeks, and that's what you focus on. And that's working on the business. You're always working in the business trying to get deals, but if you don't chunk this and you don't try and build the system before you hand it off to a VA to make sure it works, you know, you end up with a lot of problems.
Well, and real quick, here's the thing. If you don't know what you're doing and you hire someone to do something and they're working every day in your business and you have no idea how to do it or what to do, that means you don't know if they're doing it right or wrong. Matter of fact, Charles and I we were having a conversation about one of his VAs, and I think it was a question they asked, right? How did it go? You had a story. But we were in DC. But anyway, what happened was that all they had to do was ask another question. And it could have been the difference of them having an appointment for another property or not. And they didn't know to ask the question. And he didn't, and had him not knowing for them to ask the question, he would have lost out on the deal. So it's like you have to understand what you're doing before you hire someone else to do it for you, which is a big thing.
As a matter of fact, what he's referring to is every question has a lower level and a higher level. There should not be a question that you can't drill down to the lower level. For example, well, Ms. Jackson, how much are you selling your house for? Selling it for $100,000. Well, how did you come up with that number? Well, the house next door sold for $100,000. Do you know what address that house is? So you want to drill down until you can't get any further for that question, because that's how you're going to get the right information that you need in order to analyze the deal and to build a report. Somebody else?
So right here.
Okay, go.
Yeah, so my question is with the VAs, I understand that you take your time out. I appreciate what you said, is like take 2 weeks, kind of drill down in exactly what you want to get accomplished, and then pass it off to a VA. But my question is, I see a lot of VAs online that offer like a variety of different things. They're cold call, they're data entry, they do research and all. When you guys are looking for a VA, are you looking for, let's say, are you looking for a kind of all-in-one person, or are you putting that focus on the one thing that you're, like a cold caller, that's the one, and then a data entry is a, totally different person?
I think Charles nailed it when he said you need to interview people. You need to check to what they really know. I'm sure you know that everybody always tells the whole truth and nothing but the truth in their advertising, right? So you really do have to check it out. And there may be a few people out there who are really good generalists, but my sense is you're better off, and Charles would be able to answer this better, but my sense is you're better off finding, if you need cold callers, you find somebody who's good at that and you test to make sure that they are good at that.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, to piggyback off of that.
Go ahead.
Dylan, so what you were saying about VAs, I normally ask my VAs for a resume, and I normally will ask them for a sample of their work. And I will also ask them, I will come up with a script, I'll have them record that script and send it to me so I can see and hear how good their English is.
Right.
Also, I will give them a task myself. If they claim that they're data entry, I'll say, okay, here's this task I want you to complete. Here's the Excel sheet format. This is how I want it done. Complete it, send it back to me, and I'll review it. And that's pretty much how I go about when I'm picking my VAs. You can't just trust anything that they say, because sometimes they're not as equipped as they are. And you do have to do training with them sometimes, depending on, like I said, what Charles said, with questions. You have to stay on top of your VA. You have to train your VA. I have weekly trainings with my VA every day, and I use a system called Call Tools, and that records their conversations. So, and she also sends me a daily script, or I'm sorry, a daily report of people that say they're not interested, wrong number, they hang up, and I'll go back to those ones that's not interested and hear what she's saying and see why they're not interested, so I can go back and train her and say, hey, you didn't do so well. Your opening spiel wasn't really that good. You seem like you were a little timid. I need you to be, fierce. I need you to be I need you to go at them. I need you to be a go-getter. And if she can't do it, then I have to go to the next one. So I mean, you really have to pay attention to your VAs and not really put your whole faith into them. You have to stand stern on what you want.
And Tony, just to go deep into your main question, you have to already know what job you want them to perform. Then you hire that person to perform that job. Anything extra is icing on the cake. So know the job you want them to do first, specifically what tasks, what activities, what roles you want them to play, and then anything else that person can do would be icing on that actual position. I think.
And then it's one.
Yeah, and the only other thing that I would add to that, this is not only for virtual assistants, these are also for same things for your personal assistants as well.
Cynthia first.
Hello, everybody. Thank you all for participating on the panel. I just have a question. I'm a new mastermind student, and right now I'm at the point where I have to put a team together. So do you have any advice on putting a team together? And I know a VA can also be part of your team, but when I say team, like a real estate attorney, a great accountant, people that are in the business that understand what we do, can you just tell me what your experiences are? And can you go first, Ms. Janet?
Okay, certainly. And it's very important that you get the right team, because you want a real estate attorney. You don't want an attorney that handles criminal cases, okay? You want somebody the same thing, and it's extremely important that you get a real estate CPA, okay? You don't want to certify, and you may have to my accountant, my real estate accountant is in California, okay? I had someone here that did it for me, an excellent, she's an excellent friend, she's an excellent CPA, but I would have, my background is also accounting, but I would have to fight with her as to the things that I could write off in real estate. She didn't really understand that. So you may have to pay a little bit more money. I mean, you got to remember, everything is global now. So I can put my information in an inbox to these folks. As a matter of fact, I hired them. I had to pay an extremely amount of money, but guess what? The first year, they got me $24,000 back because of some things my local CPA was not doing in terms. So you want to find that, and that's why you have us here, because you want to get those references from people that are actually doing what it is you're doing. And you also want a good investor real estate agent, somebody that's doing what it is that you're doing, and you have that person right up here as well. So you're in a mastermind group, so you should be getting the information from the person that's leading your mastermind group as well.
And also to answer that question, if you're on Facebook, join our local Facebook groups. Honestly, like I think I remember. I see Will, I see Drew, I see Vernon. All those guys on there asking questions. Get on there and say, hey, look, I'm looking for a real estate attorney. Can anyone refer me to it? I guarantee you're going to get about 5 to 10 different responses.
Exactly.
And all you got to do is call them and ask them what they do, how long they've been in the business. Do they have experience working with landlords, rehabbers, wholesalers, pretty much like that. I mean, you can make it pretty easy for yourself. I mean, a lot of people aren't too tech savvy, but if you've got a Facebook, create an account, and search Maryland real estate investing, you'll see a ton of groups come up. You just join those groups and ask them.
Yeah, one of the key things, though, that you have to also understand is that every strategy or every tool system you're using strategy-wise requires certain players. So when we talk about knowing what niche you want to do, there's going to be specific players for that niche. Janet talked about bookkeeper, CPA, attorney, that's general. But when you're doing wholesaling, you're going to have different power players. When you're doing rehabbing, you're going to have different power players. If you're doing buy and hold investing, you may have different power players. So when you decide to have that niche, then you'll be able to really facilitate that team to put that team together. And then another important thing is you got to know what questions to ask to vet them. That's the most important thing. Because a lot of people can recommend somebody, but you have to know how to vet that person to say, yeah, this is the right person.
Thank you. And keeping on the same wavelength about niches, I found my niche in DC. I have rental properties and I have about 10 doors. At the end of the year, I'll have 12 doors. My question is for Nicole and Janet. What did you consider, or when did you realize that, hey, it's time for me to move from landlord to getting a property manager? Because right now I enjoy the relationships I have with my tenants, and I am the property manager. But I know there's going to get to a point where I'm going to say this is too much for me and my family, and we need a property manager. So I have a team. I know who to call when issues arise. But what did you consider, and how did you decide that it's time for me to let go of the wheel and give it to a property manager?
The most important is how much is your time worth to you, okay? Because time equals money as well, okay? And especially you gotta remember, both Nicole and I are in various regions. So it comes down to the point of a business decision. How much is it worth to you in business? Because you gotta remember, when you use property manager, you may be losing 10% or whatever it is. So how much is it worth to you in time? And then of course, we can't be in every place at one time. So in Paterson, New Jersey, I have excellent property manager. In Atlanta, I have excellent property manager. I have relatives in both of those areas. So that's when it became important for us. And with so many things that we're doing, in addition to, I teach Bible study, I do, and we have Bible study in my church the entire year. So on Mondays at 12 noon, I teach a Bible study. I'm also a coach. I'm also a private lender. I'm a hard money lender. I'm all of those things. So we just can't possibly do it all ourselves. So it comes down to time and money.
And for me, I worked full-time when I started this, and so I didn't have the time to manage myself. So where I think you have an advantage is that you have that experience. But your growth, your ability to expand is going to be, in my opinion, somewhat limited by the amount of time you have to spend managing yourself. You maybe ought to think about getting good at managing managers and plan, I'm making this up, but over the next year, you are going to build systems or think about what you want the people are going to manage your properties to do, and to build checklists and systems to hand it off. And that'll free up your time to buy more, to do more, to have more time with your family and stuff. But it's invaluable what you've learned. It just may be time to, it's one of the things I think I see with us investors a lot is, oh, that looks like fun, I can do this. Oh, that looks like fun, I can do that. The problem is we never say, what can I not do? What should I stop doing so I have more time to do this other stuff? And that's a very important question to answer.
The other issue that investors have that really stymie them is the fact that they don't want to relinquish control.
You think we have a control issue?
That's a huge issue, that once you run that business, you run that company, you think that only you can do it. Nobody else can do it better than you. So that's one of the real reasons why a lot of company does not scale to a level of 10, 15, 20, 30 deals a month, because the owner wants total control of everything. So I think that's a big issue as well.
Thank you.
Olu?
Yeah, this is a question for Vernon and Drew. This is more a question about like lots. What would y'all say are the type of lots or dirt lots or infill lots that make builders the most excited? And what kind of things do you guys look for to know that it's like a right deal? And then I guess where do you guys seek out those opportunities?
So they want all your dirty secrets.
Every builder is different. What might make Will excited may not make me excited. So, but I'm going to speak from my perspective. For me, the infill lots that I want to see are infill lots where the utilities are already there. infill, that's number one requirement. Utilities, that's water, sewer. I'm tapping into public utilities. I don't want septic tank or any of that. Two, I want to see an infill lot coming from where I'm coming from, closer to DC, because the closer it is to DC, with the exception of, I don't know why, with the exception of Capitol Heights, but it's all the surrounding cities closer
you don't
to
know
DC. No. When I say I don't know why, I'm gonna go back to that.
Okay.
For some reason, Capitol Heights, the numbers in Capitol Heights just haven't given me, it's just not as close as it is to DC. It just doesn't have that return. Like, for instance, my infill lot that I just built in Mount Rainier is about 3,100 square feet, and I'm selling it for $767. I would never sell that for Capitol Heights for that much. Okay, so I don't want to build a Mac mansion. So I wouldn't go to Upper Marlboro, not because there's no money to be made in Upper Marlboro, but because the fact that I want to build under 3,000, and this is including the basement. I want to build about 2,200 square feet, 2,400 square feet above grade, and I want to maximize my money. So in essence, if I'm giving you 3,000 square feet and I can sell it for 700,000, if I go to Upper Marlboro, I have to build almost 5,000 square feet to get that kind of money. For me, it just doesn't make sense. Not that it doesn't make sense, it just doesn't make me happy. I'd rather stay in a particular area where I can maximize my return. I can give less and maximize my return. So that's what I do. So when I look at infill lots, I'm looking at all the neighborhoods surrounding DC. So Mount Rainier, Riverdale Park, Brentwood, Cheverly, those neighborhoods, I could tell you all day long. Even in my sleep, you could call me and I'll say, hey, you bring me a lot. I could do the numbers and say, it makes sense, it doesn't make sense. Because 99% of the time, my buyer is gonna be a person from DC who wants to live close to DC, but doesn't want to pay that price of living in DC. Like the one I'm selling right now, the lady's selling her house in DC and she's buying my property, but my property is only 2 blocks away from DC. I sent Vern a message last week Sunday, and I told him, I'm like, I'm gonna be pissed because there's a guy with some townhouses and he's built 6 townhouses about 2 blocks away from us, and we are on the contract for $767, and he's putting his townhouses on the market for $850. And the townhouse is about 2,500 square feet, and I'm like, I saw that on Sunday. I sent Vern a text message. I'm like, Vern, I'm gonna be pissed if somebody buys this for $850. On the one hand, it's great if he gets $850. We do have 2 other lots in that neighborhood.
Right.
So if he gets $850, my lots are gonna sell for $1 million. Period. But on the other hand, I was like, man, $850 for a townhouse? But that's that DC factor. Okay? So I'll let Vern speak on it.
So one of the reasons we love infill development is that, and what infill development is where you've got an area that's already 80 to 90% built up, right? You've got house, no house. So number one, we already know that infrastructure is already there, right? We know that water, electric, gas is already there, right? If I've got 20 other houses on a block that have those utilities, the odds of me not being able to get those is slim, next to none. By default, like buying a patch of dirt, going through permitting and design, going through construction, it's not a short process, right? It doesn't allow you to be very agile. You alleviate some of that headache when you are in an area where you've got established infrastructure. If I'm building outside, the beltway, whether it's the DC beltway or the Baltimore beltway, on large parcels of land, utilities could be hundreds or thousands of feet away, or not there at all. And in the Great Recession, big builders or big developers spent millions of dollars bringing utilities and infrastructures to parcels of land only to see the market change. and walk away from their 7-figure investment, only for somebody else to come and swoop it up. So InFill allows us to be as agile as possible while still making above average profits. And a great thing, it just removes so much guesswork for us, right? It's building brand new can be full of red tape. So anything we can do to cut down the amount of red tape we have to go through, we'll do it. Also, when you're in a high density area, right? Think about Manhattan. Think about Manhattan. You know, in Manhattan, you just can't build mansions, right? If you're lucky, you've got, you know, an apartment that has a few thousand square feet. But because it's so high density, that price per square foot is going thousands of dollars per square foot. So on high value, high density areas, the concept is the same. You know, the cost to build is the cost to build, kind of regardless where you are within one region. But one product is definitely going to sell for significantly higher than another. And so that's what we do. We kind of exploit that loophole. We look for a place where construction costs are the same, but because of high density, the house we build is smaller, and because it's high density, high value, the product goes for an expensive amount per square foot.
I have a question for all of you guys. If you were given one thing to do to find a deal tomorrow, what one thing, that one tool, that one marketing strategy you would use to find a deal tomorrow, starting with Drew? One.
Social media.
Explain.
I mean, social media just broadens your reach. You know, Charles, I'm gonna go back to a story, even though it's not a deal, but I'm gonna go back to that story. And
right.
And you know, you never know who's looking. You never know who's reading. You post it out there. Wells just said it. You post it out there. You put it out there, and you think nobody's paying attention, but a lot of people paying attention. Well, I'm Nigerian, so I tend not to put a lot on social media because I have family members who, you know, as soon as I put a house on social media, you know, I'm getting 10 messages in my inbox, you know, so I try to avoid that because, you know, I don't want people begging too much. I'm sorry, I give, but, you know, it just comes a point where you don't want to listen. But Charles urged me. My social media used to be on lock, and I was very cautious about what I put on social media. And Charles is like, Dre, you got to post on social media. I'm like, Charles, I don't want to do it. I'm Nigerian. I don't want to do it. And he's like, you got to post on social media. I'm like, okay, I'm not posting on Facebook. I'm going to post on Instagram. And, you know, I think it was like in December, somebody called me, and she's a lawyer, you know, Ivy League lawyer, and she calls me up, my social media friend. She's like, I just want to find out about what you do and all of that. We had a discussion. You know, a few months later, she calls me back and she's like, you know what? You know, I'm never leaving my job, but I don't want to, I want to invest, but I don't want to be active. I'm like, okay, so what do you have in mind? She's like, why don't you just come over to the house at dinner? She and her husband, I go over to the house at dinner, and they wrote me a check of $100,000. Like, here, and, you know, we just want to invest with you and basically just give us a return. They give me $100,000. That's off my social media post. So that same way social media would it brought me a private investor, it can bring you a deal. It has brought me deals as well. But that's just, I mean, if I had nothing, I would post on social media. And that's a way to find deals.
Okay. Will, same question.
Well, since Drew took my answer, the other thing that I would say is networking, because I have a very similar story. Networking, I told you I didn't play well with others. I really started networking probably about 10 years ago. And it started out by someone telling me no, and I thought that they was crazy. I called a woman for a loan. She wouldn't give it to me. She said she didn't like the area, the ARV, whatever. But I found out that they also ran a meetup or whatever. So I said, well, let me go to this meetup and show this lady who I am. She'll give me this money. So I go there. I started networking with people, and it really had me reset my mindset of becoming a student of the game all over again. I go there, I started networking, telling people what it is I do, the experiences that I have, and from there, I was able to abstract probably about $5 million out of that room in private money, just from networking. One thing that Joy said is that you never know who's watching. It all started with just one guy. We used to just trade, stories. He was a much older guy. I would tell him my background, my story. He was kind of impressed because it's kind of wild, me growing up, Section 8 parents in the hood, all of that, and bringing myself out. We just talking one day. He says, hey, if you ever need any money for a project, let me know. I said, okay. I kind of thought he was weird because we'd known each other for 2 years. He never offered money, never even knew he had any money. A couple months later, deal come through. I call him, asking for $100,000. He writes me that check for the deal. The deal goes through perfectly. At settlement, he came to settlement and gives me a check for $500,000 and say, I've been watching you. You did this one deal successfully. Here's $500,000. And from there, we still have the relationship where it's though I basically have $1 million line of credit with him now that I can just write for any deal that I want going on. So networking, you never know who you're sitting next to the left, to the right. There's a lot of people with a lot of money in their 401ks and stuff like that. They can't actually spend it themselves, but they can lend it out and make money on it. So, if anyone has a job here or you know people that work at a job, there's people with literally hundreds or millions of dollars sitting that they want to do something with. They just need you to extract it out of them to show them what to do with it. So networking and then definitely social media.
Nicole.
I want to just point on one thing there. I think one of the things we tend to do is, as human beings, is we tend to judge other people on how they look or what they drive or kind of what their job seems to be, and you just don't ever know what's behind that. So I think the idea of not assuming anything and treating everybody with dignity and kindness and never goes wrong. If I was looking for doing a lot of single family stuff right now, I have a little different thing. Because right now it is so hard to find good deals in big metropolitan areas because the cost has gone up and there just isn't a lot of housing out there right now. It's really a seller's market. Would everybody sort of agree with that? So what I think I would do is I would find a small town or two that is in the third ring out from a city. So like a Hagerstown, like a Cumberland, like a York, like a, something that is out, and I would go driving for dollars. I would drive by, find those vacant houses, those things with weeds. I would take down the addresses, and I would go back and find those sellers and try and get in touch with them, find out what their issue is, what their point of pain is. It's not about you, right? It's about them and how you can help them fix their issue.
He's going to finish all this first, then we go to the next person. Go ahead, Janet.
Okay, I'm sorry. What I've been able to do, remember there's a pandemic the past 2 years, am I correct? And remember I said you have to build a relationship. Remember I said you had to let people know what it is that you want to do. So guess what? In my church, we've had an awful lot of deaths. And guess what? Guess who they come to? They come to Miss Janet to help them solve the problems with some of the houses. I was at a house right up the street from me on 1702 Windermere. That was one of just last week because that was as a result of the death. So I've been able to take advantage of those, whether it's helping them through wholesaling, or helping them sell the deal, or buying a couple of the properties myself. So that is one of the ways I've been able to do that in New Jersey, as well. but we got to remember, people want to come to someone that they feel very comfortable with as well. So this is how I've been able to take advantage of some of the deals and not take advantage of people themselves. That's most importantly. Even if I didn't get the deal, I was able to steer them in the right direction.
So if I wanted a deal tomorrow, and my panelists have kind of hinted on it, I would ask for it. And when I say ask for it, they mentioned social media. But essentially, we're talking about word of mouth. We're talking about utilizing or trading in on your good reputation with people you know, right? Because here's the thing. Your reputation, the trust factor will get you indoors and get you deals that you'd never get with all the marketing in the world. It'll get you deals at better prices with less pushback than even the biggest wholesaling company out there who does all the marketing in the world. It'll get you in those doors. So you gotta have a good reputation to depend on. But here's a prerequisite. The prerequisite, before you ask, you gotta be super intentional about the ask, right? You gotta be like, you can't be scared to say, this is exactly what I want, this is exactly what it looks like. Because if you're vague about the ask, you'll get all types of stuff that 9 times out of 10 won't work for you. So anytime on social media, when I say I'm looking for a deal or I'm looking for land, I'm super intentional about what it looks like, how much we pay for it. And I realize, what I'm willing to pay for something, maybe there's somebody else willing to pay more, and I'm cool with that. But I'm intentional about the ask in that way. When I get a text message or something comes in my inbox, I know it's a good chance that it's exactly what I asked for.
Everyone took all the good ideas. If I could choose one thing, it would definitely be social media. I can't tell you how many deals I've gotten from social media, just from me recording the process of me walking through properties, from me recording of me talking to homeowners. I'll put up their name and their address, but just having people see that I'm really out here doing deals. That's what they want to see. I mean, we're in a phase where people want to see you doing things, and that's one of the things I had to realize. So it would definitely be social media. The last deal I probably closed was I sold the Valerie and the Kill Scott, believe it or not, and that one was in the Windsor Mill area in Baltimore County. I actually sold 2 of them. One was in Pikesville, one was in Windsor Mill, and they both came from social media, from people actually seeing that I'm out here doing things. And you can't be afraid to post stuff on social media, because that's what people like. We're in that age and time now. And just for me doing those things actually helps out a lot. And me posting pictures of me at settlement with my folder, and people love that. They love, congratulations, you're doing well, so on and so forth. And I'll make a post of a property that's old, and I say, hey, I need 5 to 10 more of these by the end of the month. This is what the property looks like, this is what I'm looking for. If you got one on your block, send it to me, and your inbox will light up. You'd be surprised.
I guess I got a couple things in my mind, but they all kind of took what I was going to use. I guess one of the things I would probably do is probably go to the auctions. I've been to several auctions, and a lot of those guys, they lose on the property. So I'll walk to them and say, hey, how you doing? Let me, I was rooting for you. You didn't get the deal, but here's my card. Call me. Tell me what you're looking for. I can go find it for you. That way I know I got a guaranteed person that got the cash. I saw his cashier's check, and I know he's going to buy it. All he wants to do is find it, and I know I can help him find it. So that's the way I guess I would do a quick way of trying to make sure I got guaranteed cash instead of not knowing where I would find an actual buyer.
Okay, we got one person here and one person there. All right.
Yes, I had a question about the governor is trying to get the levy train from DC to Baltimore? And what immediate impact would you see? Do you think that will play on the city and the surrounding counties that's around that, being that people can be able to commute to DC, bringing that DC money to Baltimore in 15 minutes?
Anybody? What effect would that ease of commute from DC to Baltimore be when it comes to the real estate market?
I think it's a really good idea, honestly. If you look at all the developments that's going on in Baltimore City, it's just like another development. And wherever that train goes through, that's where money's gonna come in. So if it's going through PG County and Montgomery County, and wherever that train's at, you gotta look at it. People love to commute now. Nobody wants to put miles in their cars. People trying to cut back certain living expenses. Just look at that train as a money train. And people want to live close to it, so you just want to start marketing right there in the area. If Vernon says today, hey, I'm looking for something, as soon as that project start, I want something there, I'm going to start marketing there, and I'm going to call him, hey, Vernon, I got a deal in that one area where that train is coming in there, and I know you buying the area. It's going to be a cash cow. Let's talk numbers.
Anybody else want to tackle that?
And you're going to get more people from DC. We see that now. There are more people now that are coming into DC because of the market, coming into Baltimore City, not only for investment purposes, but actually coming into Baltimore to live. I actually see that in my neighborhood as we speak.
Nicole?
Yeah, I have a little bit of a different take on this. This COVID, I think, has shown that we don't need as many downtown offices and spaces, and there's going to be probably, the estimates are 30 to 40% of the people that used to work in downtown areas are going to be home workers, which is going to have an impact on transportation. How that's going to impact whether the things are still going to be needed or not, or it's going to look the same, I think is a big open question right now. The other thing I would honestly say about some of that stuff is that you will have big players in there very quickly. So if you can get something in advance, tied up in an option, I would not buy, but I certainly think an approach would be to put an option in to buy something in the next 10 years for a certain amount of money, and then record your option. That way, at least it clouds the title a little bit. But I would be a little cautious until this settles out a little bit more and we really see what things are going to look like.
Anybody else want to touch that one?
Here's the attitude I take to everything. So, for instance, when we're looking for infill development lots, people always ask me, like, what areas do you like, right? And ultimately, I like whatever area is profitable, right? I mean, some neighborhoods are better than others, but, look, if that neighborhood wasn't profitable, I wouldn't like it from a business standpoint. And often the approach we take is that we follow the growth, right? We follow the infrastructure. We let other people take the risk. Because if you know Baltimore, right, you know the Westport project has been on and off several years, right?
That's like Reservoir Hills.
Right. There are neighborhoods or areas in Baltimore that are the next to happen that have been so for 20 or 30 years. And there have been players that have spent and wasted a lot of money making a big bet, right? So, what do they say? Pioneers get arrows in the back. So just be a settler. Be one or two steps behind them. Keep your ear to the street. You've got the Baltimore Business Journal, the Washington Business Journal. You've got a lot of publications that kind of cover what's in the works, what's happening, the hurdles. It's okay to be a step or two behind because you still reap so much of the benefit. Like in Prince George County, as affluent as that county is, there is one Whole Foods in the entire county. Well, our neighborhoods happen to be, our favorite infill development neighborhoods happen to be kind of along that corridor. Whole Foods doesn't just put a Whole Foods anywhere where they don't know for a fact that they're going to get the money. So follow others. Take advantage of their hard work, of their research.
Okay, one more question. Ayo.
Thank you. Thank you to the panelists. This is a direct question from a Facebook post I got from Craigslist. Do you happen to know the difference between a tax certificate and a tax deed?
A tax certificate.
Microphone.
And a tax what?
Deed.
Okay. A tax certificate is also known as a tax lien. So the states are actually split almost down the middle. 25 are tax lien states, 25 are tax deed states. A tax lien, both of them are the states selling the public something to pay the tax on a house where the homeowner isn't paying the tax. In a lien state, what you are doing is you are basically paying the taxes, right? Within that first year. And in return, you get a percent return. So it's a guaranteed return. Maryland is an 18% return on the tax lien, right? So if you get something and somebody isn't bidding you down, you get an 18% return on your money, but you don't have any right to the property. If people don't pay it in 2 years, you can hire an attorney and go through the foreclosure process, right? As opposed to a tax deed state, what the state does is that they don't try and sell somebody to get you to pay the tax and then give you an interest rate on it. They're going to hold that for 2 to 3 years, and then they turn around and they're actually going to sell the property at a tax deed sale. So you actually are bidding to buy the property itself. Most states have a right of redemption built into their tax deeds, and so you almost always have a title that is clouded for a year to 2 years where you can't clearly sell that. So you have to do more homework on a tax deed. You have to make sure the house is something you want. You have to be willing to have something you're going to do with it for 2 to 3 years before you actually claim the deed. So you have some strategy to make money on it, like an option or a rental or something like that, right? As opposed to a tax lien, which are really great in IRAs, and you get a guaranteed return. They're easier to do. So I guess that tax liens are also a good way for you to buy lots. Go find tax liens or tax deeds on lots and go buy the lot that way for what's owed on back taxes.
Okay, everybody, I want you, each and every one of you, give the audience how they can reach you, a phone number, contact, and so on, starting with Drew and working your way down.
Phone number is 240-286-7404. I am also on Instagram. It's Drewy_OSAZUWA on Instagram. My email is, my Instagram handle is Drewy, DREWY_OSAZUWA. Okay, my email is AOSAZUWA@gmail.com.
And your company?
My company is Capital Gateway Development.
Okay, Will.
My phone number is 410-989-5055. My Instagram handle is Will Buys Real Estate. My email address is willbuysrealestate@gmail.com. 410-989-5055.
Thank you. Nicole.
All right, info@passivecashflowforlife.com. And we have a weekend class coming up next weekend. One day is kind of an intro to multifamily, and one day is various single-family strategies. If you're interested in that, it's class.passivecashflowforlife.com.
One more time.
class.passivecashflowforlife.com.
Janet.
That's 410-989-1243.
One more time.
410-989-1243. And that's Baltimore Real Estate Diva at gmail.com.
Vernon.
My telephone number is 301-537-0353. On social media, both Facebook and IG. I am Vern Vaughn, which is VERNVAUGHAN, the number 1. That's both IG and Facebook. And on August 21st, I am doing a 3-hour class on infill development on site at a recently completed project. And for the real deal, folks, if you go to InFill101.com, put in the code REAL, REAL, you do get a discount. InFill.
Get the website again.
Yeah, INFILL 101. So InFill 101. Kind of like an intro level freshman year class on infill development. 3-hour class, all content, no fluff.
What's the code?
REAL, REAL.
And what was the date again?
That's August 21st, Saturday, 8:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Right outside of DC, on site.
Gary.
What's your number? My number, 301-537-0353.
One more time.
301-537-0353.
Go.
My phone number is 410-301-0528. Again, it's 410-301-0528. And you can find me on Instagram at Blessing Communities, that's plural, COMMUNITIES. And on Facebook, you can just search me for Gary Brown.
Franklin.
My phone number is 301-801-5031, 301-801-5031, and my Gmail is frankniyi@gmail.com.
Everybody, let's give our panel a big hand. Give them up, give it up, give it up. Thank you, guys. I would like Janet, Nicole, Gary to remain seated. Thank you, guys.